Do you ever wonder how far we've come in understanding the spectrum of human love and identity? History whispers their tales, some triumphant, others tragic, but all deeply human. Long before modern labels, the essence of LGBTQ plus identity thrived in the shadows and the light, embraced by some cultures and condemned by others. Ancient Greece, for instance, celebrated same-sex relationships as a bond of intellect and camaraderie, while the sacred Hijra community in South Asia was revered as divine intermediaries. These fragments of inclusion, however, were fleeting amidst millennia of oppression. Yet, even in eras of silence and persecution, love found a way to bloom. People carved spaces for their identities in art, literature, and clandestine gatherings. The Renaissance bore witness to coded sonnets of longing, while whispers of forbidden love echoed through Victorian parlors. Fast forward to the 20th century, a time when the world began to shift. The Stonewall Uprising of 1969 marked a turning point, sparking a global movement for LGBTQ plus rights. Bricks and chants became symbols of defiance as brave individuals demanded to exist freely, to love boldly. And yet, the struggle was far from over. In the shadow of liberation loomed threats of discrimination, violence, and a devastating epidemic. But the community stood resilient, forging alliances, raising awareness, and rewriting narratives. Today, we honor their journey not as a relic of the past, but as a living legacy. Every parade, every flag raised, every voice heard is a testament to courage and love's enduring power. The dawn of activism often begins in the quiet resolve of individuals. In the early 20th century, figures like Magnus Hirschfeld in Germany envisioned a world where identity was celebrated, not suppressed. A physician and sexologist, Hirschfeld founded the Institute for Sexual Research in 1919. Creating one of the earliest havens for LGBTQ plus individuals. The Institute housed extensive archives, treated individuals seeking understanding, and hosted lectures that opened minds. But progress is seldom linear. The rise of authoritarian regimes in the 1930s, notably Nazi Germany, led to the destruction of Hirschfeld's work and the persecution of LGBTQ plus people under paragraph 175 of German law. The pink triangle, a badge of shame used in concentration camps, would later become a powerful symbol of resistance and remembrance. In the mid-century, the world stood at a crossroads. The Second World War ended, and while freedom rang for many, LGBTQ individuals continued to face oppression. The 1950s saw McCarthyism in the United States, where thousands of government employees were purged in what became known as the Lavender Scare. The government deemed homosexuality a threat to national security, perpetuating stigma and fear. Despite these dark times, rays of hope emerged. Small but significant communities began forming in cities like San Francisco, New York, and Los Angeles. Publications such as The Ladder by the Daughters of Bilitis and One magazine by the Mattachine Society brought visibility to the movement. And then came the night of June 28, 1969, at the Stonewall Inn in New York City's Greenwich Village. A routine police raid met an unyielding spirit of defiance. Led by figures like Marsha P. Johnson and Sylvia Rivera, patrons resisted, sparking days of protests that became the rallying cry for LGBTQ liberation worldwide. The Stonewall Uprising birthed Pride as a movement, a month, and a mindset. The years following Stonewall saw the formation of organizations like the Gay Liberation Front and pivotal events like the first Pride March in 1970. Each step forward was hard-won, and each voice amplified inspired a new generation to join the fight. The 1970s heralded an era of unprecedented visibility and activism. The Gay Liberation Front, radical in its approach, demanded not just tolerance but acceptance and equality. Pride parades became annual events, with thousands taking to the streets to celebrate their identity and challenge societal norms. In San Francisco, Harvey Milk emerged as a beacon of hope. Elected to the city's Board of Supervisors in 1977, he became one of the first openly gay politicians in the United States. Milk's platform advocated for affordable housing, civil rights, and the hope that LGBTQ+ individuals could live openly and authentically. His life was tragically cut short when he was assassinated in 1978, but his legacy inspired a generation of activists. As the community celebrated progress, the 1980s brought a devastating challenge: the AIDS epidemic. Misunderstood and stigmatized, the disease disproportionately affected gay men, leading to widespread fear and prejudice. Governments were slow to respond, and the LGBTQ+ community found itself on the front lines of a dual battle against the virus and societal discrimination. Organizations like ACT UP, AIDS Coalition to Unleash Power, and the Gay Men's Health Crisis emerged, demanding medical research, compassionate care, and public awareness. Iconic demonstrations, such as the DNs staged by ACT UP, highlighted the urgent need for action. The Names Project AIDS Memorial Quilt, unveiled in 1987, became a poignant reminder of the lives lost and the need to remember them with dignity. Amidst the grief, the community rallied together, creating networks of support, advocacy, and love. By the late 1990s, advances in medicine offered hope, transforming HIV from a death sentence to a manageable condition for many. The turn of the millennium brought new victories. In 2001, the Netherlands became the first country to legalize same-sex marriage, setting a precedent for others to follow. LGBTQ+ visibility soared as celebrities, politicians, and athletes came out, challenging stereotypes and fostering acceptance. The 2010s saw a cascade of legal and cultural victories. The repeal of Don't Ask, Don't Tell in 2011 allowed LGBTQ+ individuals to serve openly in the U.S. military. In 2015, the Supreme Court's landmark ruling in Obergefell v. Hodges legalized same-sex marriage nationwide in the United States, affirming love as a fundamental right. Globally, LGBTQ rights movements gained momentum. Pride parades lit up cities worldwide, from Sao Paulo to Tel Aviv, Manila to Cape Town. Yet challenges remained, with many nations continuing to criminalize same-sex relationships and deny basic rights to LGBTQ individuals. The fight for LGBTQ+ equality in the late 2010s and early 2020s saw significant strides alongside persistent challenges. Activists expanded their focus beyond same-sex relationships and marriage to encompass broader issues of identity, representation, and intersectionality. One major area of progress was transgender rights. Increasing visibility of transgender individuals such as Laverne Cox, Caitlyn Jenner, and Janet Mock helped educate the public and shift cultural perceptions. Legal battles for transgender rights gained traction, with cases advocating for recognition, access to health care, and protection against discrimination. In 2020, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled in Bostock v. Clayton County that Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 protected employees from discrimination based on sexual orientation or gender identity. However, this era also witnessed a rise in backlash. Anti-LGBTQ legislation, particularly targeting transgender individuals, became a focal point in several countries. In the United States, debates around bathroom access, participation in sports, and health care for transgender youth polarized public opinion. Globally, nations like Poland and Hungary saw governmental crackdowns on LGBTQ+ rights, while activists in countries like Uganda and Russia faced severe persecution. Despite these obstacles, grassroots movements flourished. Social media became a powerful tool for organizing and amplifying LGBTQ+ voices. Platforms like Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok provided spaces for education, community building, and advocacy. Campaigns like #LoveIsLove and #TransRightsAreHumanRights gained worldwide attention, inspiring solidarity across borders. The arts and entertainment industry continued to break barriers. LGBTQ characters and stories became increasingly central in movies, TV shows, and books, fostering a sense of representation and normalization. Shows like Pose spotlighted the lives of Black and Latinx queer and trans individuals in the ballroom scene, celebrating their culture and resilience. Internationally, the legal landscape evolved. By 2025, over 30 countries had legalized same-sex marriage, with nations like Chile, Costa Rica, and Switzerland joining the ranks. Activists in Africa and Asia pushed for decriminalization and recognition, achieving breakthroughs in Botswana, India, and Taiwan. Looking forward, the path to global equality remains ongoing. The LGBTQ+ movement continues to emphasize inclusivity, striving to address the unique challenges faced by marginalized groups within the community, such as LGBTQ+ individuals of color, those in rural areas, and those living in poverty. In the mid-2020s, the LGBTQ+ movement saw the rise of intersectionality as a central theme in advocacy. The recognition that individuals face multiple layers of discrimination, such as race, gender, socioeconomic status, and sexual orientation, spurred inclusive strategies. Organizations work to ensure that Black, Indigenous, and people of color, BIPOC, LGBTQ+ individuals, as well as those with disabilities, were not left behind in the fight for equality. Intersectionality became a rallying cry, influencing policies and campaigns. For instance, Pride events began incorporating themes that highlighted issues like police brutality, housing inequality, and healthcare disparities. Activists emphasized the importance of listening to marginalized voices within the LGBTQ+ spectrum, fostering a sense of unity through diversity. The global pandemic that began in 2020 also played a pivotal role in shaping the trajectory of LGBTQ rights. The crisis laid bare the vulnerabilities faced by LGBTQ+ individuals, including higher rates of homelessness, unemployment, and mental health challenges. Community organizations stepped in to provide mutual aid, shelter, and advocacy for those most affected. This period saw an increase in telehealth services, which expanded access to gender-affirming care and counseling for many in remote or conservative regions. Technological advancements further influenced the movement. Virtual spaces became lifelines for LGBTQ+ individuals in hostile environments, allowing them to connect, share experiences, and organize activism. Digital platforms hosted global Pride events, workshops, and forums that transcended physical borders, creating a sense of solidarity that defied geographical constraints. Amid these advancements, setbacks persisted. The fight against anti-LGBTQ propaganda laws and societal stigma remained a daunting challenge in countries like Russia and parts of the Middle East. In some regions, expressing one's identity publicly was still met with imprisonment or violence. The bravery of LGBTQ activists in these areas inspired international support and highlighted the resilience of the community. Corporate involvement in Pride events, often referred to as rainbow capitalism, drew criticism and praise in equal measure. While some lauded companies for embracing LGBTQ representation, others questioned the sincerity of their commitments. Activists urged corporations to go beyond symbolic gestures and invest in meaningful change, such as adopting inclusive workplace policies and supporting local LGBTQ plus initiatives year-round. By 2030, the vision for a truly inclusive world remained both a hope and a challenge. The LGBTQ plus rights movement had achieved unprecedented victories, but also faced ongoing battles. The spirit of pride continued to evolve, honoring the struggles of the past while forging new paths for the future. As the world moved deeper into the 21st century, the history of LGBTQ plus rights stood as a testament to resilience, courage, and the unwavering pursuit of equality. The community's journey from secrecy and persecution to celebration and representation inspired not just LGBTQ plus individuals, but humanity as a whole. It reminded the world that progress is never linear, and that every step forward is born from countless acts of bravery, both big and small. The history of LGBTQ plus rights is not just the story of laws and policies. It is a story of people. People who dared to love, to live authentically, and to demand a world where everyone, regardless of who they are or whom they love, can thrive. As the fight for equality continues, it carries with it the hopes of millions and the legacy of those who fought before. The rainbow flag, once just a symbol, now waves as a beacon of hope, a call to action, and a promise that love will always win. That's the history of LGBTQ+.